Hello, welcome to the third part of our series on important considerations when adopting trauma-informed practices. My name is Bill Stewart. Our third topic of this three-part series is how to examine existing student needs within the context of selecting the kinds of programs and strategies that you might need to adopt. Most trauma-informed schools have similar goals and they use a lot of the same principles, but the actual practices differ significantly based on a number of things, as you see listed, including where their kids are with current skills. One size does not fit all. So thinking back to our previous session, talking about resilience, here's a definition that I extracted from a pretty credible source about what resilience is in a nutshell. Admittedly, there's a much more extended version, but for our purposes, hopefully this will suffice. Knowledge, skills, and attitudes that enable quick recovery from difficulty and help individuals of all ages navigate the world more effectively. Those are two pretty high standards that we want to shoot for. In looking at resilience, there are a variety of frameworks that have been popular, some for a long time, that are all credible that you might be interested in taking a look at. When you get the slides, all of these are hot linked and you can explore on your own. But the essence of what you'll find are some things around social emotional learning. And again, the short version of social emotional learning, like we did with resilience, is that's the process through which we acquire and learn to apply those knowledge and skills and attitudes that help us establish positive relationships and do all the other things that are listed on this slide. So you might be wondering about how that looks. Well, here's an example of a program that's based on how that looks. You've probably heard of collaborative problem solving, and the mantra is kids do well if they can. And it's about environmental demand versus skills. When skills don't equal demands, things happen. Challenging behavior, problems in the classroom, and you might notice the quote at the bottom. Behind every challenging behavior is a lagging skill and a demand for that skill. If a basketball coach wants kids to hit their free throws, they practice the skill. So if we find that there's something missing, we ought to identify what that skill is and then develop ways to help kids learn and practice that skill. What skills, you might say? Well, here's one of the frameworks from the earlier slide, the Castle framework that you're probably all familiar with. You may have seen this wheel, you may have seen this. Make sure you've taken a look at the most current version, which this is, which includes a fourth ring, communities, which was our blue zone in the pyramid that we looked at previously. And it includes some equity, some diversity, some inclusion aspects in the language that goes with it. The link to this particular website is at the bottom of the page, and you can take a look there for further information. So if we take self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, relationship skills, and responsible decision-making as 5 key skill areas, we might be able to do some sort of an analysis of things in our school or our district. Here's a sample by grade level, stacked bar graph, the kind of things that data folks sometimes like to see. Not only does this give you the opportunity to evaluate by class, but also by strength. And you might notice that there are some really solid strengths. There are some strengths that need enhancing. There might be some programs that are growing, though. If you take a look at self-management, it's a fairly low total bar, but notice a progression that's being made each year. There is progress and it's increasing. Relationship skills, that's worrisome for 2 reasons. Number one, the total bar is the lowest of all, and we don't seem to be addressing ongoing supports in that area. And that might be a place for us to consider that the skills and the demands aren't matching, which may result in things that we see in classrooms. We can also look at individual students in the same 5 areas, just for parallel. There are plenty of other things you can look at. These are just examples. You might notice that some kids like Kathleen are extremely strong in all areas. Some kids like little Billy are just struggling. Little Billy gets by because he can charm the pants off of everybody. Some kids like Lenny and Wendy are even missing some skills. Lenny cannot self-manage. Wendy has trouble with decision-making, and it's not even evident. Other kids have varying strengths. And so we can individualize programs as well as looking at the broad overarching aspect of programs. So you might ask yourself, where do you get this kind of information? Maybe from some of these tools. You've probably heard of most of these. They all are very well known. They're all very credible. But like tools in a toolbox, each one is a little bit different than the other. And so you might need to choose carefully whether you want to measure CASEL skills or other skills and risk factors and school climate, and who you want to measure it with. Is it with the individual student? Is it with staff? Is it including the family? So there are lots of avenues to get information about kids' skills, because kids' skills are crucial and they're progressive. So if you take a look at this as a sequence, thinking about grade bands that we had in the planning chart from a previous session, K-5 uses the skills that are built at home and in pre-K. And they also build skills for 6 through 8. Middle school, adolescents practice the skills that they've already got, and they build skills and assets for high school. In high school, the same thing. And those are the additional skills that they will need at a minimum, probably for adult success and to nurture the next generation, AKA parenting. And for a lot of kids, not all, high school may be the last chance for them to receive instruction around building those skills and personal assets. If they get those skills, if they have those assets, that'll take a big step toward reducing the likelihood of their family having kids that experience ACEs, and may even break the cycle of ACEs, the generational component that we talked about earlier. Here's an example, our final slide, which shows you that programs, even in the SEL realm, are not all built the same. And so having data about what you need is crucial to be able to pick a program with the strengths that you need. So for example, if we take a look at something about the middle of the page, the good behavior game, it's got some excellent results in interpersonal skills and is very helpful in cognitive regulation. But if the need is emotional regulation and processes, it's not quite as good. And or if you're working on character or mindset, doesn't mean it's bad. It's built for what it's built for. On the other hand, I can problem solve a little farther down, has a number of strengths. It's pretty good at a number of things, the Swiss Army knife, but it still is missing a few components over on the right. And so the point here is that the progression should be identifying skills that are important to you, measuring those skills as kids express them, and as we see them expressed, which is why there's a variety of different survey tools, and then picking the tool, the curriculum, the program, the strategy that best meets the need will be the way to make trauma-informed practice and strategies in your schools the most successful possible. Thank you for watching. I hope you stay safe and well.